That weird sense you get sometimes, that things aren't quite what they seem, that most people are playing along with rules they don't understand, chasing things they don't question, thinking thoughts that aren't really theirs. That feeling is not wrong. It's your brain trying to wake you up. Most people are on autopilot, not because they're dumb, but because they've been trained relentlessly since childhood to think a certain way, a safe way, the kind of thinking that gets rewarded by institutions and ignored by history. If you want to outsmart 90% of people, you don't need to be a genius. You just need to start thinking differently. Let's start with a simple observation. Most people don't think. They react. Not because they lack the ability, but because reacting is easier, safer, faster. We are taught to react like the people around us. If everyone else is angry, we get angry. If everyone else is buying something, we want it too. If everyone else believes something, we nod along, just to avoid being the only hand raised in a silent room. This is not thinking. This is echoing, mimicking, surviving. To think clearly in a world full of noise is not easy, but it's powerful. And if you can train yourself to do it, really do it, you'll be operating on a level that most people will never reach. So how do you outsmart 90% of people? You learn to think in questions, not in statements. When something happens, don't say, "That's good," or "That's bad." Say, "What does this mean? What can I learn from this? Is there another way to look at it?" Most people judge. Few inquire. The difference is everything. Imagine this. 2 people get rejected from a job they really wanted. One says, "I guess I'm not good enough." The other says, "Interesting. Why didn't I get it? What could I improve?" Or maybe, was that even the right job? The first person builds a story around defeat. The second builds a strategy around discovery. Guess who ends up better off? Here's another trick. When everyone is sprinting in one direction, stop. Not necessarily to go the other way, but just to ask, where are they going and why? In 2008, in the United States, most people were buying houses they couldn't really afford. Everyone thought it was normal because everyone was doing it, so it felt safe. But a small group of investors looked closer and asked, "Wait, how is this going to work if people don't have enough money to pay for these homes?" They noticed the whole system was built on risky loans and fake confidence. People laughed at them, called them paranoid. But when the housing market crashed and the US economy collapsed, those few people were right. And because they saw it coming, they made millions. So when your whole feed is screaming about a new trend, a new scandal, a new thing to be outraged about, pause, ask, why do I feel pulled into this? What's being sold here? It might be a product. It might be an ideology. It might be a story about yourself. If you don't stop to ask, you're not the audience. You're the target. Here's something else. Assume less. Observe more. Most people look for confirmation. They seek out ideas and people that affirm what they already believe. This feels good, and it's comfortable, but it's not growth. To think differently, you need to be willing to be wrong. To outsmart others, you must first be brave enough to outsmart yourself. A secret that most people don't realize until it's too late. We're all running some version of someone else's script. Parents, teachers, social media, culture, it all installs little programs in us. Be successful, make money, find the one, get married, be nice, work hard, retire, die. Not that there's anything wrong with any of those things, but have you asked why you want them? Is it really what you want? Or is it what you've been told you should want? Thinking differently doesn't mean rejecting everything. It means choosing it for yourself. There's a reason the people who challenge the status quo, who refuse to think like everyone else, often get mocked, doubted, or ignored. Because deep down, they make others uncomfortable. They remind us that there's another way, and that means maybe we've been wasting our time. It's easier to call someone crazy than it is to admit we've never asked the hard questions. But if you're willing to be called crazy for a while, you just might end up being called wise. Now let's get practical. Here are 5 questions that can help you outsmart most people, not because they're complicated, but because most people never ask them. First, what's the game I'm playing? Is it school, career, popularity, money, success, attention? Did I choose it or did it choose me? Second, what would I do if no one was watching? Would I still want that job, that lifestyle, that relationship? Or am I just curating an image? Third, what if I'm wrong about my opinions, my values, my path? What if the opposite is true? Fourth, what am I avoiding by staying busy? Silence, introspection, grief, purpose, the truth? Fifth, what's something I believe that most people would disagree with? And more importantly, why do I believe it? These questions don't have to lead to perfect answers, but they will lead to better questions, and those better questions will guide you to a better life. Here's the part that most people miss. Outsmarting others isn't about competition, it's about clarity. It's not about proving you're better. It's about seeing more clearly so you can live more freely. Because the reality is, most people aren't lost because they're unskilled. They're lost because they never paused long enough to see the map. They never asked, where am I actually trying to go? And worse, they never realized that trying to go might be the problem itself. To outsmart the world, you have to step outside of it, at least mentally. To rise above the game, you have to stop playing it by accident. And once you stop playing by accident, you can start living on purpose. Not everything in life has to be figured out. Not every path has to be optimized. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to win. But you do need to wake up. The people who seem the smartest are rarely the ones who talk the most or flash the biggest credentials. They're the ones who observe, who ask, who resist, who think, quietly, differently, relentlessly. Be one of them, and you'll outsmart 90% of people, not by being better, but by being more awake.